I don't think they planned it right from the start. Like, we should have had stuff for houses. Like, we were waiting for ages for shopping centres. They should have been built along with the houses.
Same with the hospital.
Should have had...
The hospital should have been built before the shopping centre.
Stuff like that, like, we've been waiting years for a shopping centre. And we're still waiting for a hospital.
Like, everything was planned out properly, so like a few pieces were left out, like especially the hospital and the supermarkets. They were left out, they were new things.
And the schools. In the beginning we had to go to other places to go to school.
Yeah, we were sharing a school with Brookfield until we got this school.
All the parents and the teachers fought for this.
Yeah, we're fighting for years to get this school.
Tallaght was very rural at that stage, and we had no flush toilets, we had no water in the houses either. We had to go up to the pump to get some water. And the Priory was really the heart of the village. And I remember there was around 200 priests and brothers in the Priory at that time. When the village started, we first saw one estate, which was Bancroft. Then, all of a sudden, then you had Homeland, Avonbeg. So you sort of went with it. You didn't realise it was growing up around you, really, until you would go into the village.
Well, when I first arrived here, there was absolutely nothing around here. We had no shops. We had nothing up here. It was just the houses in the mountains kind of thing, you know. I felt it was very hard to get any shopping in. Had to walk down to the village.
I felt totally isolated, because everything, I came from Phillipsburg, and everything is central there. You only up the road from O'Connell Street and glass level on the other side, and the people I found them off-putting, you know. Probably I wouldn't say a higher class of people, but I thought Northsiders were more down to earth and that, you know. I was lucky in Burnley, 2 doors down. We just hit it off when we came out, you know. But like that, there was nothing at all out here but the houses.
The younger people, they would come in and wouldn't know how to get back to wherever they lived. So at that stage I had my bicycle, and if they gave me some idea of where they lived, I'd go with them and bring them back to wherever the address was, and they'd be crying at that stage, you know, really. Frustration, and they said, I'll never get used to this place. We put us out here in the wilds.
I suppose everybody thought they were the only one who was isolated, you know, so you sort of didn't talk about it, but as soon as people came out and began to share it with one another, we realised that like, there was nothing wrong with us. What was wrong was the situation that we had been brought into, you know, a situation that was planned and brought about by people that would never have to live in Tallaght.
I believe the government is certainly responsible for some of the things that have happened, in particularly in West Tallaght. They've created ghettos in that all the unemployed people are in the one area, because about 5 years ago the government offered a £5,000 grant for people to give up their county council or corporation houses and move to a private housing estate, with the result that all the people that couldn't afford to do that, such as the unemployed people, are all stuck together into one area. And everything is gloom and doom then, because there's no jobs to look forward to. There's no neighbours to look at to say, well, they have a job now. If they have a job, I can go out and get myself a job.
The effects of the £5,000 grant when it was introduced into the area were devastating. As a tenant living in Fettercairn and working in the area, I saw the chaos and the tragedy that was created through it, and the breakdown of community spirit, the breakdown of a society that was coming together, a community that was coming together was effectively decimated overnight, because the people went forward and they tried to avail of housing. They wanted to move out and on, and those that were left behind were left with a sense of bereavement, which was never acknowledged by anybody.
Well, I've been living here for the past 9 years. I think it's great. We definitely need more employment, because there's an awful lot of people that's around here that's unemployed. An awful lot of married men, say, what you call it, about 50–60% of men around in the Kilmartin are unemployed. And there's an awful lot of children that are over 18 that are unemployed as well.
One of the reasons for setting up the club was because we noticed problems in the area, like kids who never got off the road, who never went anywhere. Some of the parents weren't able, they couldn't afford it because of the high unemployment in the area, and so that was basically the reason why we set this club up, for that, on a basis that we could take the kids out without costing them a lot of money, because there's one thing there's a great shortage up here, is money.
Well, the effects of unemployment is bad at the moment. Like, I mean, there's an awful lot of people that are, what do you call it, poor, and I mean poor.
There's people in the area who care. As I say, there's the boxing club and there's various other clubs in the area. People really do care. But there's a feeling up here that the government just don't care. We have a slogan in the area, is Kilmartin be proud. And we have a lot to be proud of, you know.
We've 30,000 kids here, school-going kids in Tallaght. There's 44 schools. There's a huge juvenile population here. And out of that population, we have about 200 who get into trouble for the first time. The crime rate here has been stable. The job scene would be the problem that I would see coming up in the very near future. Jobs for these young people that are coming on stream. Very well educated, well motivated, and if jobs have got to come. I'm a juvenile liaison officer attached here to Tallaght Garda Station. There's two juvenile liaison officers here, Vanguard and myself. We deal with juveniles between the ages of 7 and now 18. It used to be 17 up to a couple of months ago, and now it's 18. The idea of the job is to keep juveniles out of court, and a lot of children get into trouble as they go through life up towards the age of 17. A lot of peer pressure put on them, a lot of temptation. The idea is to keep them out of court, because if they get a conviction in court, it stays with them for the rest of their lives.
They seem to like coming to school. It's a very structured situation when they come in the morning. They know exactly where they're going to be at any particular time. They know the roles the various people play. We have counsellors, year heads, class tutors, people involved with them in sport, in extracurricular activities, and they look on the staff more in a friendly way than we looked on our teachers. They like the school. They feel safe and secure, and they show this. We don't have a problem with graffiti or vandalism within the school.
Chairs. The rest of you, just stay where you are so that these can get themselves.
Now, Mr. Breton's art class. Go down the art.
Both my parents are from the country. My mother is from Roscommon and my father is from Clare. And so I'm the first generation here. I like school a lot. It's you know, it's great to come in and just there's a lot of practical subjects here, you know, help you in later life, you know. I'd like to do something in the line of art maybe, or draftsman or something like that.
And will you work on it behind at home? You know?
My parents came here about 17 years ago, and it was very. It was a rural area at the time. My grandparents live in Ballyfermot. Both sets have them on, so they live over there. So I don't really see them that much.
My mother and father both come from town. My grandmother won't come out to Tallaght. She thinks we live out in the country, and she hasn't been out here in about 15 years, so she doesn't really know it. I like living here now. I used to be sort of ashamed to say I came from Tallaght, but I like living here now because I think it's got good publicity with the opening of the square.
Some employers discriminate against children from Tallaght, and I think it's totally unfair. The image some people have of Tallaght is just, it's bad, and the papers only write about bad things about Tallaght, and there's a lot of good goes on here that people don't hear about. It's only the bad things. I mean, there's good and bad in every area. It's just that the papers give a false impression of Tallaght to people outside, and you have to come in and visit Tallaght to really appreciate what a good place it is.
I think there is a certain amount of discrimination in Tallaght, and that if I go for a job, maybe if Tallaght is on my CV or whatever, I mightn't get the job or whatever, but people have to sort of look past where you come from and look at the person who's going for the jobs and the grades and how your ability to do the job, not where you come from, because it doesn't really matter where you come from. There's not that much prospects, you know. You have to sort of like go out and try and find a job and things like that, you know. There's unemployment agencies and all that, but they don't really seem to be helping, you know. There's not that much prospect for them. I hope I don't end up being one of them.
I'd be concerned that their hopes would be dashed because they're full of enthusiasm and optimism, and I would hope that they can find some niche in society or in life afterwards, because they're very talented, really, very spontaneous. The obvious need is, I think, employment, jobs. What kind, I don't know. I mean, I feel the employment situation will get very serious if it goes into another generation. I feel the schools in Tallaght are excellent, and I feel that they're serving the young people very well. I'm sure they could do with more resources like every school. I think we need to make school more attractive in an area like this to attract people who may be slow to come.
I was from youth, nicely. I was given the choice, you know, whether to stay or go to another class or get out of school, you know. Put very nicely to me, it was the lunch, you know. But I think school was a bum deal to me, you know. I wasn't treated very well at all. Like, the school I went to, if you had brains, if you had plenty of backing behind you, you were looked after. Like if you were just trying to drag through with your skin or bleeding teeth, they wouldn't look after you at all. Just thrown down the end of the class and just left there. play football with each other a lot, you know, and then later on, we haven't seen each other for years. We bumped into each other up here and started talking about music. And found out they all play guitars and drums and just got together. I had a good banter. You know, it was all through the studio as well, like, we used to hang around up here a lot as well. That's how we all met each other. It's been pretty hard growing up in Tallaght here now. You know, like, it's not as easy as everyone thinks. Like, there's no money here in the south side, as they all say. You know, it's hard enough trying to keep going. Like, when you're on the labour, you're getting £11 a week, £11.10 a week actually, and you're told to live on that. You know, things aren't so easy at all.
We, at Tallaght Community Workshop, we don't run it like a school. It's not run like a school. It's run on a factory basis where the kids get into overalls and they work with tools like in a factory. And then for short periods during the day, they're taken to do maths and English and subjects that they didn't like at school, but they had to do that kind of thing all day long at school. Whereas here, they only do it for 45 minutes per day. The rest of the time they're doing practical subjects.
Mitch, yeah, I went on the hop for the last 30 days in first year, and then I went all the way through second and third year. So never really interested in school.
I didn't like the secondary school, but the junior school was all right when you first start and all that. You meet a lot of friends. But when I was in secondary school, they all call you names and all that, so I left. Didn't really like to go back. I prefer this course a lot better than school because I'm making a lot of things and I like using my hands for making things. And we do more metal work here than we did in school. And it's a lot better and you get an education out of this and all. And you do computer studies, maths and life and social skills.
I think I like it a lot. I'm doing woodwork now at the moment, and I'm getting on great in woodwork, and hopefully after I'll get a job out of it in carpentry. That's what I'd like.
The square, of course, was the crowning glory, I would imagine. The square, I think we did have to wait too long for the square. I mean, I think a lot of people stayed in Tallaght with hopes we'll get the square, and a lot of people moved out. Oh, we're not getting any shops, we'll go somewhere else. And I think a lot of people moved out because the thing was too long drawn out. Was a place where people thought there might be lots of jobs and lots of possibilities and so on. I don't think any of that has been delivered. But I think to actually have a physical place which is warm and a good environment and accessible has made a huge difference to the area. It has created a focus that wasn't there before.
The square is very pretty. It's a very nice place to walk through. Again, I don't want to sound a downer, but many of the shops are specialist shops and our catchment area wouldn't reach into those shops. But again, it's a definite asset to have it in the area. As a job creation network, it hasn't been of any value to people in Fettergate.
My eldest daughter, and when we first moved up here, she was bored. She didn't know what to be doing, and generally fed up. She couldn't find anything to do. She's able to go to the square now to do her own bit of shopping, and she's able to go to the pictures and things like that.
cinemas in the square are absolutely fantastic. The prices aren't too high either. There's special rates and there's twilight hours and all that, you know. The gripe I would have about that is that they didn't build a hospital for us. Tallaght needs a hospital.
Well, certainly for a person who enjoys running, Tallaght is ideal. You can run 5-6 miles without going onto a road. I mean, you won't be in the same park, but you can connect from one park into another, and you can do a complete circuit without ever having to go on a road. I've developed a rule of thumb. You can tell the areas that are settled from the ones that are not settled by looking at the trees. Originally, the County Council planted saplings along the road margins in every area of Tallaght. In some areas of Tallaght, those saplings are now trees. In other areas, they've just disappeared completely. Tallaght is growing up, but it's not completed yet. I mean, we have the square. The regional tech is being built. When we get the hospital, finally people will, I think, begin to think of it as a town, as it was originally intended.
The Regional Technical College will open in October. It's being built at the moment, and everybody's looking forward to it because we have a large young population in Tallaght. Now, it will be great for them to have an RTC on their doorstep, but I hope that it will help motivate the people in the middle who have a lot of ability, but so far it's quite difficult to rouse their ambition. So I hope when they see third level life in the area that they may feel, you know, it's worthwhile putting that little bit of extra study in.
We have a very good transport now. We have, for this part of Tallaght, for the greater area, I do think we need a rapid rail or some such transport.
I think the lack of a hospital, the lack of an emergency centre where mothers can bring children with cuts or burns or whatever. I mean, 18 years and there's nowhere, you know, that anyone can bring a child to get a stitch and except to go down to Crumlin.
There is a problem in the area that we're working on at the moment, and it's in relation to public lighting, and it's just an example. The County Council do not have the money to repair the public lighting system, and we have vast areas of open spaces here that aren't lit at night time. So therefore there have been 2 or 3 occasions when people have experienced there's muggings, and there were 2 rapes in the area.
I think that the failure to develop Tallaght over the years has manifestly been a failure of local government. But if you believe, as I do, that local government and local decision making and the empowerment of people in the democratic process at local level is important, then local government reform is central. But it has to be a reform, as I say, that is more than just devolving sort of down to smaller units. It has to be smaller units with power and with resources.
If we had local government in Tallaght, it would be absolutely fantastic, and I think that's the way forward. I think local government is essential.
We can't ignore the problems. I mean, there's a tremendous lack of leisure facilities for young people. There is the library in West Tallaght, for instance, or the swimming pool in West Tallaght. So I feel these lacks have to be highlighted. It's difficult to get the balance between highlighting what the needs are and portraying the goodness of a lot of people and the good things that are happening here.
It grew from a very small population of a couple of hundred people to 80,000 people. We have a fantastic community spirit here, but jobs have to come to Tallaght.
I think if the good points were brought out of the youth, you know, instead of them all people always saying, oh, the youth are bad, the youth are very good.
It's like when if you're going for an interview, you tell them you come from Tallaght and you automatically think, oh, you rob cars and stuff. It's not like that. Like, there's a lot of good people in Tallaght. There's some good things for there's probably not enough things for the youth, but it's good enough for this. It's not just as good as anywhere else.
It's the place that has the name, really, not the people. So, I wouldn't like to move out. There's always the good points and the bad points of where you are.
I think Tallaght is a nice place, and I think it'll be even better in a few years' time when all the new buildings and that, and the hospital and all comes. I wouldn't want to move.
I love Tallaght.
Yeah, I love Tallaght. I wouldn't want to move.
Tallaght is brilliant.